President Biden said that he did not ask Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to negotiate a ceasefire in the country's war with Hamas during a call Saturday, despite rising pressure to do so. Biden told reporters that he had a long talk with Netanyahu, not discussing its contents, later adding that he did not ask for a ceasefire. The international community has nearly unanimously urged the U.S. and Israel to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. As the Palestinian death toll from the Israeli military offense rises, over 20,000 Palestinians have died in the war, Gaza health officials said, and nearly the entirety of Gaza's 2.3 million population is in dire need of humanitarian aid, according to the United Nations. In a UN vote last week, just 8 countries joined Israel and the U.S. in voting against the ceasefire resolution, and the U.S. abstained on a UN Security Council vote Friday on Gaza aid after negotiating for days to water down the measure. Within the U.S., a rising number of lawmakers and members of the public have also called on the Biden administration to change its Israel policy. A half dozen moderate Democrats urged the administration to step up pressure on Israel to end its all-out ground offensive on Gaza this week in a letter to the president. We are deeply concerned by Netanyahu's current military strategy in Gaza. The mounting civilian death toll and humanitarian crises are unacceptable and not in line with American interests, nor do they advance the cause of security for our ally Israel, the letter reads. We also believe it jeopardizes efforts to destroy the terrorist organization Hamas and secure the release of all hostages. The lawmakers continued. The American support for military aid to Israel among the public has also waned since the start of the war in early October. I'm not going to make this too long over thanks to this illness, but you would think if you have all these other countries who are looking at this externally and saying, yeah, 20,000 Palestinians have been murdered by the Israeli government, maybe it's time to call for a ceasefire. You don't see the U.S. taking that direction. And it's hard for me to believe that if it were any other country that we would call ourselves allied with, we would see them kill 20,000 people and just be like, well, I guess we have to see how this plays out. God, Biden just drives me crazy sometimes. He told reporters he had a long talk with Netanyahu. Now, he won't tell us what the contents were, but he can tell us what they weren't. And that's the part that gets me, because if he didn't call for a ceasefire, what did his call really accomplish? I mean, they had a long talk. That could be anything. That could be him talking about the history of Israel, or the Israeli Palestine conflict, or Hamas in general. I mean, it's very vague. And support in the U.S. for this conflict has deeply waned, because a lot of people who maybe otherwise weren't really into this stuff that much, they didn't know many things about Israel, they just heard a few things here or there. Even a lot of people are now saying, yeah, the Israeli government is run by some pretty evil bastards. I mean, when you can just wipe out 20,000 people, and let's not forget, have another several, God, how many more? Several million or a few million in need of food. God, it's just, this is such a frustrating conflict to talk about, because, like, I accept there's nothing really any American can do about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. I mean, that's just going to go on seemingly indefinitely. But it's like you have the American president who's not some newcomer to politics. He's been in office in different positions for over 40 years. And he's aware of the conflict that Israel has had with Palestine. Um, and it's like he doesn't put any pressure on them. He doesn't say, hey, look, you're killing a lot of innocent people. All these other countries are looking at this and they're condemning you for your human rights abuses. End this conflict. You don't even have to resign or get out of office. Just end this conflict. And he doesn't do that. So I will always be grateful that Biden withdrew from Afghanistan, but this is a weak showing of leadership on his part. He has nothing to lose. There's going to be some stupid conservative commentators and Republicans that would say he's anti-Semitic for calling for Israel to go for a ceasefire, but they would have already called him that anyway. As long as if you do anything that is slightly critical of this foreign country, you're un-American in these people's eyes. Um, this is one of the most frustrating things I've had so far about his entire presidency. Just the real weakness to condemn these people when you have a conflict where it's so flagrantly obvious that they're doing something wrong, and all these other countries are going out and saying this needs to stop. And even now, like moderate Democrats who are normally like slugs when it comes to progress, they're saying, yeah, ceasefire, stop it, end it. Too much death. We don't like foreign deaths, except when it's in a. We normally don't have a problem with foreign deaths in the Middle East, but this is even too much for us to stomach. Like even they're saying, you know, end this. And Biden just he puts his feet in the sand and says, I spoke to Netanyahu. Very long call. Won't tell you what it was about, but I didn't call for a ceasefire. So you did tell us what it was about indirectly. You just didn't. You're really just admitting there was no progress made. And you would think if you're going to send aid to this country, you would want to know, hey, is this going to be another month, another 2 months, another 6 months? Who knows? It's just I'm tired of government by mystery. I'm tired of politicians who are so afraid of these foreign governments, of somebody on a cable network or a lower government position calling them a name. I'm sick of it.